Get rich quick, baby. Fast money schemes, right?
You partake in all of the quick schemes and
I was trying anything and everything because I just didn't want to do the traditional thing. Work 40 plus years for a company. I wanted it overnight. I want it quick and I want it fast.
How did this end up, my friend?
Downward spiral is what happened.
I mean, you can only run through pyramid schemes for so long.
Yeah.
And at the time, you still have credit card debt that's accumulating. What happens?
Screwed. Let's
Screwed.
use the real words.
You would be screwed.
I would be screwed.
My name is Romain, and for the past 10 years, I've been on a quest to tackle America's toughest personal finance situations. Leveraging my Ivy League master degree and personal experience, I've found solutions for what seems impossible. In 1 year, you can completely be in a different spot. Are we ready to take action?
Yes.
Will this be the one I cannot solve? Let's see what happens. Paige, let's look at your profile. You are originally from Oklahoma. You currently live in Los Angeles and you work in sales as well as in real estate. Is that right?
That is absolutely correct.
Looking at the way you've rated your personal finances from chilling to Mayday, you rated yourself as I'm okay, which is good to hear. But my friend, I know this was by far not always the case. Walk me through a little bit about what's going on.
I was doing the living the dream kind of thing, you know, dog in the backyard, white picket fence, until a crash, a bankruptcy, and things went south for a minute. But the good news is later, at some point, I did find something that was unexpected, and it changed my life for the better.
Woo, okay. As you guys see, it's definitely swings and tribulations in your life until that ooha moment that came in the mail. I don't want to say too much yet. Walk me through the root of all of this. Where did this all started?
I was a guy working. I was working my way through college, just kind of making ends meet, just barely. And a couple of guys went over to a bank and came back, and they had cash in their hands. I said, "What is that? How did you do that?" And they said, "Well, cash advance."
Credit card cash advance?
Credit card. I didn't even know what that was.
Okay.
So within minutes, these guys had as much as $200, $300, $500 cash on them on the spot. So to me, I was like, free money. They're just giving away money at the bank. I went from a kind of broke dude to a guy that can ball out on the beach in South Padre Island with sorority gals. Who's not going to take that option? So I go to the bank, start getting cash advances.
So you get at such a young age into credit card debt instantly without even realizing it.
Not even thinking about it at all. I just dove head first, and I kept doing that overnight because it's free money, right?
Yeah, but you didn't think that you were gonna get stopped at some point? Like, what were you thinking?
I was winging it. I was thinking, don't have money, walk into a bank, come out, have money. That's what was going on at the time.
Okay.
And I just kept running into those types of troubles, right? And then I started, kind of looking at different ways to do things, getting different jobs. I kept getting recruited for all these various things. Guys would sit at the tables and they liked my personality. I'm very bubbly. They're always recruiting me for one thing or another, like get rich quick, get rich quick in 3 weeks, make hundreds of thousands overnight. Oh, gosh. Come work for me. You could be on my #1 sales guy and this and that, right? And I tried everything.
You're thinking the bank gives you free money when you go with the credit cards, and on top of that, you partake in all of the quick schemes and shit all over the place.
Get rich overnight. Get rich quick, baby. Fast money schemes, right? And everyone has like this book. You're going to read this book from this successful guy, and if you follow these steps, you're going to become the next guy, right? Ultimately, I was doing what they asked me to do,
That's
right?
a good point, yeah.
They were training me. It was all about training, right? And I would show them, you get this people on this and this many side and this much business volume here and there. And I'm in the suit, and like they introduced me as a guy from out of town, and like a little bit like Wolf of Wall Street guy, right at the beginning. And there I am. I'm like making the presentations, doing all that because I wanted it. So I was a guy that like, I want the dream. I want the lifestyle. And you picked the right guy to kind of dangle that carrot out there. And I was trying anything and everything because I just didn't want to do the traditional thing. Work 40 plus years for a company and, work the corporate ladder and eventually I wanted it overnight. I want it quick and I want it fast.
How did this end up, my friend?
Kept downward spiral is what happened.
Okay, so walk me through what do you do after that? Because I mean, you can only run through pyramid schemes for so long.
Yeah.
And at the time, you still have credit card debt that's accumulating. What happens?
Yeah. And then so finally, like I got an opportunity to work for this company. And so I got a good job.
Nice, okay.
And then so things are kind of turning around for the better a little bit. And that good job led me to, we're kind of getting into the mid 90s ish. And so we get into like 2000. I got a really good job there at a .com company. I bought a house. And so that's where I'm like, okay, life is good. So that's where I'm 2.4 kids without the 2.4 kids, but, white picket fence, backyard,
The
house,
American dream.
American dream. I'm beginning financial beginnings, right? The dream of new home ownership, first time home buyer.
Okay.
There I am, right? And I'm working for the .com. Making a shit ton of money,
Yeah,
right?
it was the boom.
Boom. And they were paying us a lot of money. We were working remotely. I was working for a company out in California, living in small town Houston, Texas. Didn't matter. And I had met the gal.
Very nice.
A beautiful woman. We start dating. I propose, ask her and her child to move in. She actually helped me shop for the house, which had 3 bedrooms.
So everything was perfect.
Everything was going great until communication breakdown. She and I hit the shits, hit the skids. She took off. I was buying the house. I'm in the house. 3 or 4 months later, economy crashed.
.com boom.
Bust, baby. .com bust. And then all of us internet .comers that were working in that space all were scrambling now to try to find something else, all looking for the same other jobs that were now being opened up to us. So we're scrambling, looking for work.
And so at this point, you can't catch up with everything. And what happens?
Humility set in. I had to figure something out because I was getting behind on my mortgage. So I looked at every possible option. I was so upside down, couldn't sell the house because I owed far. I was only 8 or 9 months into home ownership at that point.
Yeah. By the way, fun fact, if you're buying a house for the first years and years, you're mostly paying for interest on a mortgage. It's only a couple years in that you actually start paying for principal. So
not even scratching the surface, right?
Not even scratching the surface. Most people that now buy a house, I mean, generally real estate gains are made at the time of purchase, but many people now they buy a house and it's a flip or something, post flip, and they're definitely instantly potentially upside down on their house with now. Insurance.
And you don't know that at the time, right?
I mean, nowadays it would be difficult for you not to know, but if you bought it at the time where, things were not as smooth as today on Zillow, instantly I can give you a value on your house.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
At the time, my father thought, look into a bankruptcy. And there were different levels of bankruptcies that you could have done. I think chapter 9, 13, settled on chapter 11. So I ended up filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which included the house and then any other debts that I started accumulating, like other credit cards. Not the same ones.
How much was the total bankruptcy, would you say?
About $95,000, something like that.
That's about the average. Chapter 11 average bankruptcy amount is between $100,000 to $350,000.
And I looped everything into the whole total of it.
So what happens through that? I mean,
I felt like I failed. I felt like I was failing. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. I started not really depression, but close. I mean, the girl left, the .com crashed, the bankruptcy hit. They say bad things come in threes. And yeah, I did. Because as a man, we want to feel that we're on it. We're taking care of our shit, right? And it wasn't, it was out of my control. And the pride took a huge shot to the ticker. I worried. I struggle with it. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do? And then that's going to be on your credit. So that you're making that sacrifice. Okay, now I got to work my way out of that shit. On top of the credit card debt that I had already I wasn't out of the woods on that just yet.
Not even?
No, because of I didn't pay that shit back. That's my credit started suffering.
So you didn't include that in your... Oh, you did...
Because that was past. That was... So there's that gap between the college credit card stuff and then the new home ownership stuff. Okay? All right. So now I got to figure out a place to live. I had a couple of buddies I knew from the bar. They had a house. They had an extra room.
Completely 180 instantly over the course of a couple months.
Yes. I had to figure that shit out.
So you pretty much do now at this point, I mean, really humble jobs.
My mom gave me her car. So I went from Nice car. I had a Lexus, the country club membership, all that shit when I owned the house. The Lexus was part of the bankruptcy, so it had to go back. So now I'm living with the family, driving. Now I took my mom's car, green little crappy Corolla. No longer balling on a Lexus. So that was a problem because I'm dating, makes it difficult. Trying to ball, going on dates with a Corolla, that's not working. The idea that comes to move to Hollywood, how am I going to do it? So I sold the car for a little seed money to help me when I got to LA. So I thought I had somewhat of a plan. We want to think we have a plan when we're moving. What I didn't know was the cost of living once I got out here. Got really scary really quick. Humble pie started hitting me in the face really, really fast. You know, Mike Tyson has the greatest quote ever. They say, you know, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
And that's what happened.
This is what happened. So I got out here, bought a car. So I needed a car to drive around at this place over in Burbank, and they scammed me out of the car. So that's a problem. So now that money goes away. Not only did they sold me a lemon that didn't work, they kept taking the car back, not fixing it. Then finally, as I kept complaining, like, this dude's a pain in the ass, we're just going to keep it. Like, what's he going to do? So they kept my down payment. They kept my first couple of months' payments. That money that I used, gone. No plan. So now, there I am in my apartment in Koreatown, LA. All my shit was in a storage plate back in Houston, Texas. I had no furniture, my friend. So there I was, and with my dog. I had no refrigerator. Apartments, I didn't know that shit. Like back in Houston, all the apartments had refrigerators. LA, I have apartments with no refrigerators, no dishwasher, no nothing. So I'm buying like lukewarm sodas, and I'm drinking Big K colas and cheap shit on the counter, all my potato chips, all that shit.
No bed, nothing.
No bed, nothing. I'm sleeping. And I came with one suitcase. And in that one suitcase had 3 or 4 changes of clothes. I used my hoodie as a blanket. So there I'm sleeping on my hardwood, cherry wood floors in my Koreatown apartment. My character apartment. It's made in the 1940s. No amenities whatsoever. Just a closet, a room, and a kitchen. And so I had to get some form of income. So I remembered when I took a trip to Los Angeles before I officially moved here, I met those characters on the boulevard.
Oh, the mascots?
Yeah, the mascots.
Oh, you're one of those?
I learned that they made money on tips, and they were telling me they make as much as $200, $300 a day.
Who were you?
I was various characters at a time. This is in 2011, so I did everything from Mad Hatter to Ebenezer Scrooge to The Grinch to Phantom of the Opera. I made tips, straight cash, and it was hard as shit because and I didn't have a car. So I was busing it to Hollywood Boulevard with my costume in a duffel bag. I would then change in a bathroom nearby the Grauman's Chinese Theater, run down, do the mascot thing, make $60, $80, $100 a day. Hot as shit out there, And then you learn like there's other like homeless people, drug addicts, transients doing that shit. Like in the Spider-Man costume, there's this dude. You go around the corner, you'd see him later with like drinking beer out of a bag, later in the day. And I'm like, I'm associated with these fucking people, And it's humilifying, Like immediately you're just like, this is not part of the plan. And by the way, that's not Hollywood. That's not where movies are being made. That's not where the studio lots are. That's not where, Steven Spielberg isn't going to come down and find me in a role anytime soon at that particular juncture. So I just did shit like that, okay? And I did that for a while. And I would mix in like a brand ambassador job, a taster guy at a Costco, or pitch guy doing the pitches at the Costco's or Walmarts or whatever. I'm over there making the pitches. Background work. I did a court show, paying like $50 for several hours of work. Shit. And then I started realizing around 2014, 2015, I was like, this shit can't continue. I got to get a job. So I started looking for jobs. So I went on Craigslist and started going to, Indeed and like the various, job search sites. Got a job as a inside sales guy in like a boiler room type, phone room type of deal, right? With a headset and pitching shit,
But there is something very important that you left off in this story, my friend. At some point, something came in the mail, and that changed your life. What was that?
About 2 years ago. And this is the lesson of read your mail before throwing it away. Okay? So I was just checking my mail, and it looked like junk mail. And I open it up, and it says, hey, this is such and such, and we're bank such, we just want to make sure what you want to do with these funds. And I was like, I don't know. And it didn't specify an amount. It said, we've bought out whoever it was. And I think what this was is going back to those jobs like in the early mid 90s. Like I invested in like a 401k or a something or an IRA of something, and it rolled over to one company to another to another to another. And this company was kind enough to send a piece of mail saying, "Hey, we've moved on from this other company. What do you want to do with this money that you've accumulated?" And I don't even know what that amount was. They said, "Well, call us up and tell us what you want to do with this money."
How much?
$38,000 found in my mailbox, ladies and gentlemen. I almost threw that shit away. I almost always throw. Don't you throw away your junk mail?
I mean, you think it is. But I always check though. And speaking of 401ks and retirement plan, guys, if you don't know if you actually have one that may, as our friend have found decades later, I recommend you check out the company called Capitalize. They are a partner on the channel and they will look for your forgotten 401ks or retirements. They do rollover. It is free. I've used them myself for my rollover, so I invite you guys to check it out. But on your side now, you're opening an envelope. It's $40,000.
I open up the mail. And I see $38,000 in there. I said, "What the f?" And now the beauty of it is it wasn't locked in something where I couldn't do it. So that would have been the ultimate tease, right? Like, we found $38,000, but you can't do anything with it. Ha, 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 throw it away, right? Instead, they gave me the option. What do you want to do? You want to roll it over? You want to cash it out? If you cash it out, you pay a penalty, whatever it was.
And so we'll see actually what you've done with this jackpot amount that came...
Found money.
Found money. As we transition into our next segment now, looking together at your income and your assets. A quick aparté to invite you to like and subscribe. This helps us tremendously as we are a growing channel, just the two of us trying to make it happen. Thank you so much again for your viewership. And now let's get back to our content. So today you work in sales, in fuel delivery, and also a little bit in real estate. We'll be speaking about this. But first, your sales jobs, how much do you make per year nowadays?
I'm around 80K right now.
80,000, okay. So living in Los Angeles, that brings your current net income to about 4,700 or so per month. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Now, transitioning together into your assets, well, the thing is pretty simple. You have three things. You have a checking account with a balance of 11,872. That's nice. And you have two things. You have your Roth IRA. So you converted that money intelligently into a Roth IRA, and now it's valued at almost $40,000. Congratulations. So you haven't spent it up on shit. I was scared about that, that you were going to spend it on so many other things. And you also have what's very unique here, a real estate investment to the value of about $44,000. You carry some debt on it though. For a land in Mexico.
Yes.
What is this? What is this?
So I was down there living from 2020 to 2021 and looking for ways to earn money. So I started doing like vacation rentals, travel services just to earn, because everything was shut down in the world. If you remember the thing that we just went through. So I'm a capitalist. I'm an entrepreneur. Like I'm always trying to figure shit out. So I met a guy on the beach, actually, in the water. We're having cocktails.
Oh, yeah. That's not a good way to meet him. Okay, all right, let's see. Yeah.
He was 3 sheets to the wind, by the way. But he introduced me to a guy that was on land who owned a real estate company down there. And so he introduced me to them.
Okay.
I met them, started having wonderful conversations about like what they were doing, how they were doing it. They then said, "Hey, we've got this tract of land. We're developing a development outside of Tulum. Want to take a look at it?" Offering me land for pennies on the dollar, which is pretty impressive because our dollar goes a long way in different parts of the world, right, with the conversion rates and such.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I started looking into it. And so they have this beautiful community outside of Tulum, Mexico. Part of the agreed investment opportunities is you cannot invest within 30 kilometers of the water as a foreigner. So a couple of different ways to do it. And so they talked to me about how we can do it. And we did. So I put a down payment on, got a...
Do you speak Spanish?
I do speak Spanish.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. I got a really nice arrangement to do no interest financing for a period of time, which is the debt that you referred to. So I'm about halfway through that process at the moment while they clear the land.
Speaking on the specifics.
Yep, while they clear the land to get everything ready. I now have 2 plots of land ranging from 2,500 square feet to 4,000 square feet.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's where you get the balance of about 40K.
44,000. Okay. So what is my take on international investments? I am a little bit conflicted, okay? Because in a way, I find it to be a great way for diversifications, leveraging the economic call advantage that we have as Americans. I've also dived into it myself. Like, you hear those crazy stories about expats investing in Bali,
right.
In Thailand, Mexico as well, often. I mean, some of the big things and feedback that I've gotten from investing in Mexico is, number one, if you don't have the language, for the most part, it's really tough. Yeah. You're tough. You're the foreigner. You're like, okay, this guy doesn't even speak our language. You can get into bad deals. I've had some people with bad situation in Mexico.
Yeah.
Now, also, I've heard really, really good stories about opportunities, let's say, for example, in Bali, where you can have a pretty nice house that you invest through organizations, Americanized organization and companies. For example, I had a peer who actually bought a house in Bali for $450,000. And what they do is they go there, 3 months a year, the house is theirs, and the rest of the time, they rent it, Airbnb it, under that company, and so it helps to pay for its mortgage.
Yep.
So they benefit from the house, and then they're gone.
Free and clear.
And the mortgage is paid by the rental aspect of it.
And that's the plan with my Tulum investments, is to put a house on it and then start renting it out, Airbnb, Vrbo, or administrative company to do that, to handle it.
Yeah, so those are means of investments. Now, looking at your assets, would it be my primary choice? No. I think there are other ways for you to invest that could be a little bit safer and a little bit more sustainable as you think about. You're not super close to retirement, but you're not so far neither. So we'll be speaking about this. When I think about, my tier of investments, okay, if I see like, A, B, and C, A being something like a market investment, a Roth IRA, those are pretty more safer, more sustainable, quick, liquid money that's easy. You can have access to it easily. Those are kind of A tier. Then B tier would be something like real estate investments locally within the United States. Think about the Tennessee, the Wisconsin of the world, where you can buy a house for $50,000, $60,000, and you can always use a very simple 1% rule, meaning that for the house that you're buying, you want to rent it for at least 1% of its value per month. So if a house is $100,000, instantly if a deal is decently worth it, if you can rent it more for $1,000, okay?
So that's the number that you want to go for?
No, that's a very quick one, instantly,
Okay.
Instantly, I would know more or less if it's a positive market. What you find in those areas, the Tennessee of the world, where you can buy pretty much houses for about $50,000, $60,000, $70,000.
Like middle America.
Middle America, working America in a way, and you can rent those. You have a couple options. We can mention something like Section 8. Guys, look at your research on that. This is a government kind of guaranteed income. There is a bunch of regulations behind it, but you can get rent up to like $1,200, $1,300, depending on the number of bedrooms in the house, for investments of $60,000, where your money is not locked outside of the United States under another currency, and so that's why I put the investments that you have more as a C tier, meaning this is something when you've exhausted the panel of options available for you that are more safer within the United States, and you want to diversify it for something when you have kind of excess assets that you want to invest into. So that's a little bit about my take on this. We'll be speaking about how much you still own on it, and let's see if we can make a play with this at this time. Now, coming back to some of the rest of your assets, as I mentioned, checking account, real estate, and Roth IRA. Today, that brings your total assets to $94,962.
Okay.
No other savings. No other market investments, none of that. What's the idea behind having $12,000 into the checking account not invested?
Just a cushion, a comfortable cushion. The way you frame the question is brilliant, because that's exactly my mindset. Just keeping it as a cushion so that I have it to spend.
It's not fighting inflation, my friend. Huh? In every year right now, inflation is about 5% or so. So the value of your dollar is going down, right? As prices goes up. And so right now, without even realizing, if we just make a quick math on it, you're losing about well, $600 or so of dollar value per month.
By keeping it in my checking account?
Yeah, by just having this. You do 1, 2, or 3 clicks, you invest it into a preferred partner on the channel, for example, public.com. They have a high yield saving account, and you put it there and it gives you 5+%, and you fight inflation without having to do anything.
I'd love to do that.
So, so that's a little bit about your current asset situation in your kind of middle age era. Let's transition together as we think about your expenses and your debt. You know, guys, if there is something that I've learned from doing all those finance deep dives, is that we spend way too much money on our mobile phone plan. And I know what you're thinking. Roman, thank you. You're not inventing the wheel here. But wait, what if I was to tell you that there is a company right now that is disrupting the industry? Let me introduce you to Helium Mobile. And they're launching something next level, a completely free phone plan. Yes, you heard me right. You get 3 gigabytes of data, 100 minutes of phone call, and 300 texts per month for free. Not a single dime. Sounds too good to be true, right? But in fact, it's not. They're changing the game by using a mix of traditional 5G, the largest in the nation, and their own people-powered networks to cut costs. Now, if you're like me and you need more data, well, they also have plans starting at $15 up to $30 if you need unlimited everything. So what's the catch? Well, in order for you to get access to that $0 per month phone plan, you need an invite. And guess what? I was able to work with the brand to get access for our community. The offer is timely, so what you need to do is check out the link below and enter the code ROMAIN, ROMAIN, to unlock this offer. Thank you so much, Helium Mobile, for sponsoring this video. And now, guys, let's get back to our content. In Los Angeles, one of the most expensive city in the world, how much do you pay for rent, my friend?
$2,300.
That brings your housing expense to 49% of your income.
Yes, it's not good.
Woo, we like it to be below 28.
Ooh.
You're bowling, but again, you're bowling. Yes, I know, 2,300 in LA is not crazy.
Yeah, the taxes are killing me.
We'll be speaking about this in my recommendation if this is still a right place for you. Oh, do you have a car?
The company vehicle.
Oh,
Yeah.
so very nice. So you have no car payment?
Correct.
What about gas?
No, sir.
Insurance?
Company takes care of all of that.
Woo! Okay, that's really good saving.
Now we're cooking with grease, right?
So that brings your current transportation expense to a natural 0%.
Zero.
This is a jackpot.
Yes.
And that helps compensate a little bit for what you're paying for the housing. Okay.
Yeah.
Generally, we like it to be around 15% or lower, of course. So that kind of balance it out against your housing. Okay. Now, let's look at the statements. Okay, so often here is spending money on necessities in a way. You know, you do your foods as at regular grocery stores, but you also enjoy entertainment places. I see concert tickets left and right, as well as restaurants and going out. Our friend here is on dates. What's going on with it? I see, you know, 3 or 4 transactions per week. What's going on that front? The dating scene is good?
And the way that works is, you know, I'm on a dating app. I meet people, and so you got to take them out.
Okay.
And there's a cost that comes along with that. Now, they don't pay for your date. That's the downside.
Oh, you pay 100% of the time?
Usually, yeah.
Has there ever been the case when the girl do offer to pay?
Yes, from time to time. It's a small number, though.
What's the percentage?
10.
10%?
Yes.
Okay.
And I admire that. You know, I relish that. Or they'll chip in 50, or they'll say, I got dinner. Or maybe I get dinner and we go to the next phase, like a place or a bar or something. She's like, I'll get drinks. You know, she gets the drinks at the next place, right?
What are your thoughts on this as a man and just in general in kind of that, you know, middle-aged dating scene?
Well, I think dating in LA is really tough because there's a materialism there, and women want you to have a certain status and have a certain type of car, probably have a certain type of place, dress a certain way, take them to a certain type of place. I can't roll up and take them to a hot dog stand.
No, that's fair, no.
Right? And now shit costs, right? Like I'm not getting out of there for less than $100 each and every time. And then let's say, God forbid, we're hitting it off and life is good. We want to go do something after that. So I might spring for, hey, let's go see some live music. Let's go see a comedy show. Let's go see a magic show. Or I'm really creative and I'm coming up with like last minute suggestions. And it's all good. Like I enjoy doing it, but it comes at a cost.
Hundreds of dollars, my friend.
I don't think I can get out of there for less than 100, 150. If I'm really resourceful, the date could be around 70, 80 bucks, but not that quickly.
I see. Okay. So you're kind of stacking up on, those types of expenses, and that's converted a little bit into credit card debt, but you have the money to pay it. As we look right now into your credit card, you have about 4 credit cards, one with $459, another one with $331, another one with Amazon for $174, and a final one with about $50.
Yep.
Looking at your credit score right now, you are coming to at 651. But that is surprising in a way that it's not higher because your credit card utilization is fairly low. So you're playing the game right, except for one little thing.
Collections.
You have a collection still that's showing at 2,358. That dated.
It's that shit that's lingering from the time before. We talked about the troubles. The troubles have reared their head, and they're rearing their head in the form of shit like that. And then there's a couple of slow pays because in between jobs, you couldn't exactly pay on time, whatever. And the cost of all of that, too, is because the credit's not great. These are higher interest credit cards.
Exactly. Yeah. But overall, you're not stacking up on crazy debt as you used to.
Yeah.
So, you are rolling on about in terms of credit card. I mean, it's about $1,000 or so.
Not terribly psychotic like it was before.
And the collection is at, as I mentioned, about 2,400. Again, it's 5 years old or so. This is going to get out pretty soon. It was dated in 2019. You could probably negotiate this to about $500 or so. You're really good at salesman. I'm sure you're really good at negotiating. You call them, you offer $500, they won't wipe that. I can tell you. I mean, you know your stuff on that front. Now, you also have another form of debt, as we mentioned previously, the land in Mexico. $18,000. Still of debt on that. So you're positive on it, 0% interest.
Yeah.
But it's a quick loan. You need to pay it fast. How long do you have?
So right now, it was supposed to be a 3-year project. I'm in year 3, but they got behind on the development piece.
Yeah.
So there's another year. So I got about 16 months or so.
16 months to pay that. Okay. So that makes for quick payments.
Mm-hmm. And I'm overpaying monthly, which is, so I know you did the assessment on that, but that's why you see the difference in kind of where's that extra money going to? I'm overpaying a little bit to pay that land quicker, to take ownership of that quicker.
Yeah, that's fair. So that brings your current total debt at $21,372. My friend, today your net worth. Are you ready for it?
I'm not.
Accounting for the value of the land in Mexico, which I don't have verified value, so it's based on your estimate of $44,000. That brings you at $73,590. Okay, I mean, hey, a couple of years ago, you were filing for bankruptcy. You were nothing. You were, doing the mascot on the West Hollywood.
Hollywood Boulevard.
We acknowledge that. We encourage that recovery. But my friend, I don't want you to fall off also the wagon, because as far as I'm seeing right now, retirement-wise, you're about 40,000 or so, and you have just about 10 grand on your account. And that is, as we transition to get into our next segment, the money case. I'm going to be straightforward with you, my friend. If you didn't have that $39,000 jackpot that came into mail, today I would be very worried about your financial situation as we think about your retirement in a decade plus. But let's think about how much today do I need you to save in order to be able to have a decent retirement? Because we're not going to be able to bowl at this point, except if you hit the jackpot with another type of job that really pays you, okay? Right now, Assuming that your retirement is invested in non-target fund, because that's a massive scam, by the way. If you guys are investing your retirement funds into target mutual funds, you're getting scammed on a daily basis. The average, goal of those funds is to give you about 4% or so per year. This is what we've seen over the past decades. When the S&P 500 average over 10%. So please be very thoughtful as to how you invest your retirement money. Don't lazy out with target funds where they're filling you on fees, and it's a bunch of BS that I absolutely hate. Stocks that I like to put in my retirement. This is no financial advice. This is what I enjoy myself. Are things like VO, QQQ, VTI, VGT, SPYI. Those are the mentions that I always bring to play because I think those give you low fees with great potential return. But let's say, for example, that you're able to actually invest that money into the right positions, and that averages you about 10% a year. Okay? By the time you retire, that $39,000 will be worth about $148,000.
Oh,
Nice.
that is nice.
Nice, right? Because you still have quite a bit of time in front of you.
Yes.
But I'm going to be straightforward with you. By the time inflation hits and you get to retirement age, $148,000, it's not going to move you very far, okay? Now, if you guys are in your retirement age and you have that amount of money today, maybe you can make it work, okay? I don't want to say it's not a lot, but you can't pull tens of thousands of dollars per year, okay? So what I've done for you is I've cut straight to the chase. And I say, okay, assuming that Gage by retirement age at 65 needs to pull $30,000 a year because you're going to have $30,000 plus Social Security. Okay? How much do you need to save per month today to make this happen? You are going to need to save per month starting today $520.
Where are we going to find that $520?
You don't have it right now.
I don't.
I know. But that's the realization, is that if you're not able to find at least $500 a month now to put towards your retirement, you're ticking against the clock about taking the right steps for you to be okay by the time you retire. Because right now, with what you have, you're not okay. And so I'm seeing a bunch of spend left and right on the dating thing, summing to those $500. This is what you're spending on your dates. And I don't want to tell you, hey.
Wow. That's actually very compelling.
That's what I'm telling you right now.
Eliminate the dates.
Well, we'll be speaking about this. But your fund that you're spending on, ladies, is costing you a life of enjoyment that you're not going to have if you continue in that thing. Because right now, saving-wise, you're not saving much. But my friend, $30,000 per year at retirement age, you're not going to bowl neither. So to me, this is not realistic. You need more than that. Let's say you need to you want to live with $40,000. That's not a lot of money. Well, I'm going to put it right in front of you. $725 per month you need to save right now. In order for you, by retirement age, to get $40,000 per year and deplete your retirement funds over the course of 30 years, assuming a 4% rule at retirement, you need to save per month, starting today, $725 per month.
That's the real estate payment.
Okay. So we acknowledge that. You bring the real estate. Let's see if actually that was a fruitful investment as we transition into our next segment. Let's dive into the structure very briefly. Today, there are 3 things that you need to think of when you think about a budget. Your needs, this is money that you need to survive. This is your house. This is your food. This is your car that you're not paying that you're fortunate about. This is a little bit of your, debt and credit cards and all that BS. Today, you need to spend $3,610. That is 77% of your income. We like it to be below 50. Okay? So your needs, today, you're not balling on a crazy salary. I have options for you. Wait.
Okay.
Number 2, your wants. Look, I don't want to cut everything. Okay? I don't want to tell you, hey, you can't really do anything. You're still in a dating scene. You still want to potentially at some point, kind of join a family and so on. So I'm going to limit it to $300. $300 per month, my friend, is the budget that you have to make it happen. again, I'm not a professional and a relationship coach, but there could be things that you can employ to at least on first dates get a first sense so that you don't are pulling on a dollar on first dates that's costing you hundreds of dollars. $300 a month.
All right.
Where does that leave you right now, mathematically? Assuming you're paying $650 for Mexico, my friend, on math, you have $757 to save.
I do.
You do. But I'm not accounting for trip to, Thailand or Mexico or the crazy drinks. You're living bare bone and you have $300 to play around. You have $750 available.
Okay.
So how do we make the magic work? Well, I'm going to dive into Mexico. Mexico, how much did you invest?
So I bought a 2,500 square foot of land for $14,000. I then got excited about the fact that I could get another plot of land for equally low amount of investment. Our dollar goes a long way. So I then turned around, bought a 4,000 square foot of land for $20K. All in, $34,000. For 2 plots of land.
How long ago was that?
2021.
So about 3.5 years ago. Okay. Today, the land is valued per your estimation at $44,000. Your annual return on that investment, my friend, is 7.6%. If you had invested that money today into the S&P 500 over that period of time, your annual return would have been 25.6%. So what I'm saying is why do I consider this C tier? Is because not only number one, it's illiquid money. Today you're telling them, hey, I want to cash out. I doubt it will happen that fast. Okay. Number two, it is a project that, as you mentioned, has already been delayed for quite a while. So real estate projects like this, can take quite a bit of time. And number three is that you need to build a freaking house on that shit.
That's right. Not out of the woods yet, pun intended, because it's an investment in the woods.
Yeah, well, it's an investment in the woods. Today, you own land, my friend.
Yes.
Okay, is land generating you passive revenue, passive income on a yearly basis? No.
It is
You're
not.
purely basing on appreciation.
Correct.
Appreciation on the foreign market where you have little control and where your money is locked. Whereas today, you invest into the market, into positions that we've discussed together. Something arise, okay? Although I recommend people to keep the investment for a long term, okay, and not get biased by the crazy clickbaity shit. Or the economy is turning down when it's going down 3% in a day. Okay, I've had some posts in my community post, which I encourage you guys to check out. We are very active in it, right on YouTube. Is to make investments into the A tier category. Okay. So let's look at this as we think about your current situation. All right, let's go. Number one, my friend, as I mentioned previously, you're losing about $600 a month on your parking your money into a checking account. I think this is, ridiculous. You can take 5 minutes, register on public.com, a higher saving account that's going to allow you to find inflation.
I want to check that out. Yeah.
I would put about $10,000. You don't need bowling on it. Okay. $10,000. Because that is going to allow you to have about 3 or so months of emergency fund, which referred to as, okay? This is something that you never touch. This is your car breaking down, well, although you don't have a car, but this is something arising where you need instant money, okay? So what is going to leave you? It's going to leave you about $2,000 on your checking account. Okay, well, that's not enough.
Yep.
But that's something. What you're going to do from there is I want you to do 2 things. One, you're going to open a brokerage account where you're going to invest money in the market. But that only comes into play after you max out from now on your Roth IRA on a yearly basis, $7,000 per year. This is your retirement strategy. You need from today to max out your Roth IRA every single year to $7,000. You had the $39,000 jackpot. It's peanuts. You would not have that. You would be in a very tough spot today.
Screwed. Let's use the real words.
You would be screwed.
I would be screwed.
Okay, so let's see what we would do from there. So you're going to max out your retirement, okay, by pulling either side households or reducing your daily expense or making sure that you're spending your money wisely. Now, I have something to tell you. Can you please justify to me why the heck do you live in Los Angeles, one of the most expensive cities in the world, when you could very well live in Las Vegas here, partake into the similar job market and pay 42% cheaper per year. Las Vegas is 42% cheaper than Los Angeles, 4 hours away. Why are you screwing yourself in a one-bedroom apartment or whatever you live in that's small? I was looking at housing in LA myself. They were thinking pillars on the windows.
Yeah.
Do you know how much I'm renting this house here per month?
How much?
$1,900.
Damn, I'm paying twice that for a 790 square foot apartment.
You're paying a shit ton of money for the value that you're not leveraging
And
right
I'm not
now.
getting anything for it.
Get the hell out. Get the hell out.
That's a
you
great-
can't afford the lifestyle there.
Yeah.
You can't afford the dating scene there is as you mentioned challenging. And on top of that, you're not saving a dime.
Right.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Then invest the rest of your money into the market. Stop the C-tier investment in Mexico or any of that BS until, dude, I would not consider those investments until I'm at least worth $1 million. That tells you the extent at which I'm pushing those investments away.
Yeah.
It's very risky. It's illiquid. It's non-direct. It's lower return right now.
There's no return right now.
There is no benefit from it.
Right.
So you've taken that shot. You're going to go through the payments. Okay, I've learned my lesson. For now, I don't partake in this in the immediate terms. You have better things locally that are more safeguarded, more regulated, okay? Because your money, I don't know where it's going. Hopefully it's legit. But here, you have 100% control.
Okay.
You've had at some point in your life the American dream with the house, the kid, the wife. It crumbled. And really, have you ever recovered from that? Because your life to me seems to be a bunch of ups and swings and downs. I'm not seeing stability here. Aren't you done?
That's the operative word right there. Instability.
Aren't you done? You've had the experience.
Yeah.
You have the sales skills. You have a little bit of money. You still have cards to play. I think right now you're burning yourself into into what I'm sorry to say, into kind of a unrealistic world of the dating and so on that's grasping your time when you should be in the immediate term taking care of yourself and of your financial positions, which to me right now I would rate as surviving more than I'm okay. Okay? You're not in the drought. You're not amazing. You're not in a drought. You still have cards to play. Play them right and you're going to be okay.
All right.
What are your thoughts?
We all go through things. We all have hills and valleys, and we all have ups and downs. And it's how you respond in those situations that makes the person. How do you respond when your back's against the wall? How do you, come out of that? Do you come out fighting, or do you just woe is me and cash in all your chips and say, forget it, it's not going to happen? I'm not that person. I'm the guy that comes out fighting, and I want to learn from someone like yourself and really take in advice to help my financial well-being and to create a more financially healthy opportunity for myself. And so what I will do is I will take a look at measures that I can take to head in that direction. And I do have to look at the state of everything. And one of the things that keeps me there is that outstanding job that I've got with the fuel delivery business. If I move, I don't have that job.
But you have time to kind of plan
I'd
on
have to
that.
replace that. I'd have to figure that out. I'd have to get a whole nother job that's, you know what I'm saying?
But that's when we grind. The position in LA right now is not allowing you those goals.
Yeah.
It's kind of keeping you stale.
Not only that, the taxes in LA are actually affected. So by moving out of LA, you remove it's a big time scam.
42% cheaper.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a look at how I can, take measures and steps to head in that right direction. And I hope that I can do that because, positive change is going to yield positive results.
Yep. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate your viewership. We encourage you to like and subscribe as this helps the channel tremendously. Until then, I see you next time. À bientôt.